Awesome. Hey, Stacey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to be able to share all of this information with my clients and anybody else who's just interested in short-term renting, investing in those types of properties in general. So, to get started, I'll just introduce myself and then you can go. So, I'm Emily Lewallen. I'm a realtor here in Panama City Beach, and I specialize in helping investors with short-term rentals to buy and sell property, rent it out, all the things. And my go-to person in this is Stacey. She works at Southern Vacation Rentals, and anytime I need help with anything property management, she's my girl. So, Stacey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am from the Midwest. I grew up in Indiana. I moved to Panama City Beach 6 years ago and thought that I was going to just continue working as an analyst at the local hospital, since that's what I did in Indiana. Hurricane happened, hospital, everything was kind of destroyed. So my career path pivoted a little bit. Um, Southern is the company that I've worked for since I've been down here. They have not changed names, but our parent company is V Trips. And so that's kind of V Trips is kind of an umbrella over several other management companies,
Okay.
such as Southern Vacation Rental. We kept our own business model and tweaked our overview a little bit, but for the most part, it's the same type of program.
Okay.
Um, I have two kids. One is living in Indiana, and my daughter will be starting University of Tampa in August.
That is so exciting. I'm really excited for her. I saw the pictures that you guys went to Tampa, and I was
Yeah,
like, y'all look like you were having the best time. And she looks so excited.
I feel so much better after just doing the campus tour with her
Yeah.
and we walked the city for a couple days, and she's in love with it.
Aw,
So
I
her
love
best
that for
friend,
her.
her best friend is rooming with her, so she's got at least somebody that she's gonna know. So yeah, it's big changes coming for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's so exciting for her. I moved here and didn't know anyone else. I mean, me and my husband moved here together, but we didn't know anyone, and it was so daunting. Just you're starting over, like
Mhm.
you don't know where the post office is. You don't know where
Right.
you're gonna go grocery shopping. I mean, that's not that it's important, but there are little things that you're not used to, and it is
I
a
know.
whole thing. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I commend
I
her
know.
'cause it was very daunting. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
let's jump into the question. So we're kind of here today because I want to be able to bring value to my clients that sometimes I don't have all the answers for. And
Mhm.
instead of me pretending to know what I'm talking about, I'm like, let's bring on somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Mhm.
And that's you. You're my go-to. So what do you see is trending right now in the short-term rentals? Like in regards to houses versus condos or luxury property versus more affordable properties. What's popular? What are people renting?
Well, I mean, I don't know that anything is necessarily trending over the other. I mean, luxury properties are always good for big families. And with the way the economy is, there's a lot of people that are vacationing together now.
Right.
So the big luxury properties are good for that reason. The condos are always during high season. You better book quick because they are going to fill up. It's not as much, that doesn't cost as much sometimes to rent a two-bedroom, obviously, as the big luxury properties off the beach. But people still typically want to be close to the beach or within walking distance. There's some properties that are investment properties for short-term rental that maybe they are 1 or 2 miles away from the beach. Well, that just it has to be a pretty amazing property for a guest to pick that over a condo directly on the beach.
Right.
So I think that always whatever, I mean, trending will always be location,
Beachfront.
and that's directly on the beach.
Yeah.
Now properties that are a mile or two away from the beach, that's fine. But you need to have some sort of a water feature, whether it's a pool, whether it's a hot tub,
Okay.
provide a golf cart to get to the beach. You know, there
Yeah.
has to be a little something more for these guests to want to pick that house over
Yeah.
just being directly on the beach.
I've seen a lot of people do like bicycles too, like the
Mm.
cute matching bikes and stuff at the properties
Yep.
that aren't on the beach. And I always
Hmm.
think that's such a cute touch because you always see people coming on vacation and take like the cute videos of them on their bikes and stuff. And I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that stuff. So
Hmm.
that's a good point. Okay. Um, and every time we came down here is and before we moved here, we always stayed in a condo on the beach because you're coming
Right. Yeah.
for the beach, you know? So
Hmm.
it's, I don't blame people for wanting to do that, but I'm seeing that condo owners are having a hard time with keeping up with the HOA fees of being in that beachfront condo. And I see a lot of them leaving those, selling those properties and buying houses that are a mile or two off the beach, like you're saying. And
Yeah.
so if I had a client in that situation that wanted to continue short-term rental, but with a home, you're saying that having a golf cart would help a lot and some type of water feature.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
cool, cool. What kind of regulations and legal requirements are there for people that are wanting to get into short-term rental? They may have a condo only using it for personal use. What can they expect going into this up front?
Um, so we typically, Southern will, we always stay on top of any legal requirements as far as signage. You know, the city just passed, or they have new laws, new regulations as far as where lighting needs to be in the house in the event that there's a power outage. You know, it has to be something that's like, if it's a 3-story house, then on the stairs there has to be something that's backed up by a battery so that there's lighting in the
Okay,
stairwell. There has to be, you know, exit signs in certain places of the house. The um if it's a 3-story, anything above 2-story, the there has to be a inspection done by the city on the deck on the third, on like a
okay,
third balcony deck or something like that. So that kind of stuff will fall on the owner. Also, we require at least $1 million insurance coverage
okay,
on any property. It used to be a lot less, 300,000, I think 500,000, but things have changed. And
right.
as insurance has increased and, you know, natural disasters and all that kind of stuff, it's gone up just like everything else has. So the
Inevitable.
requirement now I don't know if it's a huge premium increase necessarily, because sometimes it's really not, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be an increase for sure for the owner, but it needs to at least be $1 million. And that just protects the owner
Yeah,
for anything that could possibly happen, anything that the guest would report, you know. Um, but as far as, you know, if they were to join our program, we would contact the city and let them know that it is a rental property, that Southern is representing them. And we would, like I said, make sure that all the signage is there. The fire department, they send somebody in to check, make sure that there's a certain number of beds per square footage, or you know,
okay.
you can't have 12 people in a condo that sleeps 8, you know. So
Okay, so
if
occupancy
if
limits,
they,
those are regulated by the city?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, so if we have an owner that has, you know, 2 bedrooms, 2 of the rooms have queen, you know, 2 queens and a king in the other room, so that's 6 people. And if they say, well, but we have a blow up mattress that's, you know, so that'll accommodate, well, we can't advertise it to
okay.
accommodate 7 or 8 people if the limit is 6, which is regulated by the city. So
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. And if I had a condo right now and I said, Stacey, I want to put it on your program, I want to get started, what would I have to do to be able to get going?
so all that we need from the owner is, if you already own it and the deed is already on the, you know, the clerk's website, we pull the deed. If it's going through a sale and, you know, that kind of stuff converts over. Sometimes it takes a week before we can see a deed on the website. So we would just ask for the settlement statement from
Okay.
the realtor, just proving, you know, that this
The
ownership
sale
has
went
taken place.
through.
Yeah. We would need that, which I typically get that from the realtor. I don't ask the owner to do it. But the insurance basically, and the deed, which we would get, and you sign an agreement. It's through DocuSign. It's very simple. A lot of our owners, you know, they buy sight unseen. They don't
Right.
come to Florida. They didn't even come to close it. You know, so everything is done electronically. It's very simple. You fill out a W-9 inside of your agreement, and that's so that we can report the taxes. We report the bed
Okay.
taxes, any taxes collected from the guest. We go ahead and report on
Okay.
behalf of the owner to, you know, whether it's to their LLC or to their individual name, however they have, whatever the deed is in is how we have to report that. So it's very simple. I mean, we don't, we change the lock, we provide the linens. There's nothing unless the owner is attached to something in that property that they don't want to be in that property when starts to become a short-term rental and they need to remove that. That's it. We
Okay.
don't require much of anything from the
So not
owners.
too much work up front.
No,
Okay.
nothing. No.
Cool. And then that leads me to ask a question that I get a lot. How do you feel about self-managing?
So self-management is a full-time job. It really is. You know, you have to, most people that want to self-manage, you know, they don't even live in the same state that their property is in. Now, it is easier to do it when you are local yourself. But you have to have a good, reliable housekeeping staff, or housekeeping company, whatever it is, vendor, that's going to show up. That's going to, you know, as soon as the guest checks out, they're gonna go in and clean. You have to have a good maintenance source, you know, resource. And because if something happens, whether it's the middle of the night or right before a guest checks in, or, you know, whatever it is, you in order to prevent that guest from moving to a different property, you have to have somebody that's going to be able to be there immediately. So housekeeping, maintenance, are you going to, is your housekeeping person going to also, you know, check the kitchen to make sure there's still enough plates, there's still enough utensils there, you know, things that have, you know, been broken or are misplaced, or, I mean, that's a lot for one person to do, especially if that's not the only property they're cleaning. You know, they got to get in, clean, get
Right.
out. And so you have to just have a reliable group of people in case something does happen. Also, you're going to deal with the guests. So if they're going to have that owner's phone number, uh, you know, whether it's, you know, it could be anything. Light bulb was out, or there was a leak, or the guest is unhappy because the floors were dirty, or whatever it is, you have to be available to that guest 24/7 the whole time that
Right.
they're in their property. So, you know, and then you got to worry about the bookings. You have to make sure that you know what's going on in the area. Do you increase it? Do you lower it? You know, what event is coming to town? You know,
Right.
I mean, there's just a lot that goes into dynamic pricing, which is fluctuating the rates. You know, you could look at a calendar today and not book, and then look at it tomorrow and the price may have increased or
Right.
gone down. It just depends on kind of what the market is doing, not only within that particular property, but around that property too, so it's like I said, it's not for everyone. I think initially people like to try it because they're saving the money, saving money by not paying a management company. But it's really the amount of money that you pay a management company is way less than I think what your time is worth.
Right. That's what
So
I was getting at too, is that you're trading time for money, and that's what
mhm,
you're kind of getting out of it. But there is
yeah,
the part of it too, like you just said, you may be leaving money on the table because of the dynamic pricing. So
right,
I see
right,
both sides to that, especially I
mm,
have a lot of people that are trying to buy one property. It's their first investment, and they come in and they're like, I think I just want to figure it out first,
right.
And
And
that's
that's
great.
okay.
I support that. I do,
Yeah.
because you need to be able to understand. If I had someone come in and I hired them to help me every day, I wouldn't want to give them a job that I didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I get why people want to try to figure it out for themselves first. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that a lot of people do find that it's easier to hire the property management part of their business out. Um,
Right.
and it is a business expense. So I get
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if we were to have people that wanted to do short-term rentals on their own and self-manage, what I know you said a reliable housekeeper would be very important. What else do you think, or who else do you think would make the right team that people need? Because I've had times when I mean, the tornado came through this spring, and I had
Mm.
people calling me that said, "Hey, Emily, can you run by my property and see if it's still standing?"
Right.
Because I mean, there's houses down Thomas Drive. I've talked to people on many times. They're not listed with me.
Mm-hmm.
They're just still sitting there, and
Yeah.
they're like, I don't know if my property is still standing anymore. So I'll
Yeah.
go over there, and I don't mind doing those things, but wouldn't it, I feel like it would be better to have people in place that you trusted that could look out for that kind of stuff, because I'm sure that's something that your team would do, right? If
Oh, well,
on
yeah. So
standby.
yeah, anytime there's a storm, Southern sends their team out to go to each property to bring in all patio furniture, all balcony furniture,
Okay.
to put it inside the
So like
property so that
preventative
it's
even.
yeah, yeah. So we stay on top of that. Some owners will want to replace a lamp or have a couch delivered or something like, whatever it is. We are well, there's a presence there. They
Right.
need someone to be there to get that delivery, send pictures, show me, make sure it looks okay, like, that sort of thing. And just popping in every now and then to make sure that especially when it's quiet down here and there's
Right.
not a lot of activity. Some units could go a month without having a guest because it's
Close on.
snowbird season, like we
Yeah.
call it. And could there be a leak during that time? Is there, I mean, anything could happen in a 30-day period to a property, and you have no one to go in there and check on
Right.
it. I mean, if you have a relationship with your housekeeper or a maintenance person, I mean, but that's really not their job. You can't just get a hold of somebody and expect them to do all the property management type of stuff and, but not pay for it.
Right.
So you have to be fair to the people that you're putting in place to do certain things and not expect them to do everything.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay,
Um,
so we would want a good housekeeper, someone on maintenance. Who else would you suggest be on a team for self-managed properties?
um, I don't, as far as going directly into the property, I don't think, I mean, at that point, you've got so many people in place, you might as well have a management company do it.
Okay.
I mean, those are the two main things, housekeeping and rental maintenance, because you're going to be dealing with the owner's going to be dealing with the guests and
Right.
all those phone calls. They're going to be reaching out during bad weather, trying to find somebody to go and check the property. Like I said, you can't, these other people, the maintenance person, the housekeeper, they have other jobs, that's
Right.
their job. So they can't just devote all this time to your property because you choose to not have a management company, you
That's
know?
fair.
Um, so there's a lot that goes into it, and they may or may not ever need maintenance to show up. You
That's
know,
true.
housekeeping, they may get, the 5 stars from every guest, and it's not an issue. And that's great when that happens. But we know in this industry that that's
That's not the
rarely the
majority.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, if someone signed up with your services, who would be on their team for their property? You would have you're a sales executive.
So once I sign the owner, um, I sort of do a soft, what we call a soft handoff to their client success manager. So their client success manager will be the only person that they ever have to talk to. It doesn't matter if it's about housekeeping or their rates or occupancy or their statement, they have one person, they have their email and they have their cell phone, and that's the person they reach out to.
Okay.
So the client success manager um, is specific to that owner. Now that manager has property managers that actually physically go to the property.
Okay.
So if an owner calls and says she's having new furniture delivered, a client, whatever, her manager will contact the property manager that's assigned to that property, and that person will actually go there, make sure that the vendor gets in. And so it's the client success manager, it's the property manager. Then we have the operations, which is housekeeping and maintenance, and we provide the linens. So we have a warehouse here where all of our linens are
Okay.
stored. Signage, for our luxury properties, there's a sign that goes out front in the yard. For the condos, it's placed inside. So there's a whole team of people that make sure that we're following all these specific guidelines that are set by the city. So and operations is just exactly what it is. I mean, they're the guts really to the whole process, because they are dealing with and talking to owners. Plus they're dealing with the property itself, communicating with the revenue team and the marketing team. If we have an owner that doesn't like their photos, then the marketing team gets involved. Or if the occupancy is low and they want to lower their rates because they think that they'll get more occupancy. I mean, so that owner funnels everything through his or her manager.
Okay.
So it's a pretty big, I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces for sure.
That's fair. Okay, that's awesome. Another big one that I get. What kind of questions should owners ask when interviewing property managers?
I jotted some things down on that because I didn't want to forget. So ask about monthly fees. So there's always the management fee, right? Whatever percentage that is. Um, Sometimes some companies will have some little monthly fee for the lock, for the door lock. Sometimes there might be a monthly fee for linens or a yearly fee. Want to ask about either of those. Sometimes there's a maintenance fee. Now, our program rolls a lot of this stuff into the overview of everything. So if maintenance shows up to change a light bulb or unclog a sink or a toilet, I mean, there's a ton of things that are already built into our program that the owner is not going to get, what we call nickel and dimed every time maintenance steps into their, property to do something. So I would make sure and ask those types of questions. What is covered? How often am I going to get charged just because maintenance showed up change the batteries in my remote control. I mean, that kind of stuff is included in our program, but there's some companies that do like a trip charge, you
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
Um,
And you guys
so
have basic things that are included, because what I'm gathering is with property management, there's a percentage, right,
mhm,
that you get
mhm,
off of the annual income.
mhm.
And you're saying that some of these things like maintenance going to do that would be included in that percentage instead of you getting like an additional invoice or something.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
hmm hmm Now
That's
there's
nice.
going to be some ad hoc things that happen, but when that does happen and maintenance needs to actually do a repair on something, or something needs to be replaced, well, that manager is going to call the owner and say, listen, this is what's going on. This is how much it's going to cost for our rental maintenance team to replace this, fix this, whatever it
Okay.
is. Do you want us to do it, or do you want to call and get, somebody else in,
Okay.
get a second estimate, whatever it is? So we give the owners that option to
Okay.
kind of drive however they want. Now, if there is a guest in house and it's something that's pretty immediate and we just can't get a hold of the owner, and we're gonna fix it, we're gonna handle it, even if
Right.
it's above the threshold of, what, $250, $300, whatever the threshold may be
Okay.
for management companies, because we're just really trying to avoid having to move a guest,
Right.
which means the owner has lost revenue, and we're likely going to get a bad review because we had to move an entire family in the middle
Right.
of their,
Vacation. Yeah,
vacation. Yeah.
for sure.
So we there are some things that are more urgent when there's a guest. But for things that happen when the property's empty, it's, the manager will reach out to the owner and figure out a game plan for how they want to get it fixed.
Okay, gotcha. So asking about the fees and the linens, um, what else would be important things to ask for interviewing
Um,
property managers?
Probably credit card fees. I know some management companies, because credit card fees can be on average, I mean, anywhere from 2 to 3%. And some management companies will split that with the owner, meaning the owner pays a portion of it and the management company pays a portion of it. I think there's some management companies that all of it's on the get, or all of it's on the owner. With Southern, we absorb all those
Okay,
credit card fees. So that would be another important question to ask. Are they going to provide the signage, what we talked about that's required? Or is that something that the owner needs to do? Um, Taxes, is the management company going to report taxes on behalf of the owner, or do they require the owner to, I think when you self-manage, you have to report those taxes monthly, is what I've been told. So is that something that the owner is going to have to do, or is the management company going to continue, just to report the taxes for them? Um,
and what about like owner
Also,
usage or anything like that?
what's that?
Owner usage, like how much
Yep,
they're,
that was my last
okay,
one. I would always ask, is there a limit to how often I can come to my own property? Are there blackout dates? Some management companies will only let you come for 2 weeks, and during those 2 weeks, it can't be over a major holiday, because that's lost revenue for the owner, really, which the owner knows it, but more so for the management company. So we don't we don't put any sort of stipulation on our
okay,
owners. If they want to come during the busiest time of the year, they understand that they're gonna miss out on the revenue. But also it's their property, so they
right,
should be able to come whenever they want.
right. Yeah,
Um,
I had never even thought about that until me and you discussed it before.
mhm,
Because I do see from a business standpoint why the management companies I don't want to say limit. I don't understand why they limit it. I understand why they do it. I don't agree with it.
Right. Yeah.
Because like you
Yeah.
said, it is their property. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's
Mhm.
a big one because I would be highly upset if I signed up with a management company and then they told me I couldn't come to my own condo.
Right. I know. I know. I never understood that either. But this is an investment. This is a business.
Yes.
These owners are intelligent. They know when they're coming
Yeah.
during busy season,
Yeah.
the amount of revenue they're going to miss out on.
That's true.
So if that's what they want to do, then I think that they should be able to. So that would be a big one. Make sure that there's no limit on time spent and no blackout dates.
And what about contracts? Like if someone wanted to come talk to you, would they be locked into a contract for a certain amount of time?
So yes, it's 12 months. And the reason we have 12 months is because that allows Southern to be able to get through a high season and a slow season. And that gives the owner a good idea of what a management company can do in a 12-month period during the highs and the lows. Um, if they decide that 6 months down the road, they want to self-manage or they don't, whatever the reason is. I mean, there is a penalty, there's a fee because you know, we've provided the lock, we provided the linens, we did all the marketing. I mean, there's a lot of time that goes into, you know, the initial setup and the upkeep of doing all this. So there's a fee that they will be charged if they you know in their contract before the 12 months is up. However, um, if there's guests that are in the in the unit during the time that they want to cancel, most owners would never do that
Right.
because these are people that have planned this vacation for a year, probably 6 months. And typically we see when people want to come off is when it's slow. um, Everyone thinks that the grass is always greener, that they're going to get more revenue from here or from there. But, Southern lives and breathes these numbers. Uh, they know where to put the nightly rates. They know how long to keep them there. They know when to increase. They know when to back.
I'm so sorry about that, Stacey. It kicked us off for some reason.
That's okay.
I believe that we were speaking about questions to ask management companies when you are looking to interview and hire one. You had mentioned a lot of things like owner use and credit card fees and things like that. Was there anything else you wanted to
Mhm.
add to that list?
I don't think so. I think we probably hit all of them. Um, yeah, I think we're good on
Okay,
that. If
cool.
I can think of anything else, I'll definitely let you know.
Okay, cool. Um, And then are you guys, I don't know if you specifically work on this much or if it's a different department with your company, but how about like coming up with average nightly rates and things like that? Or I know we had talked about this before and you mentioned something about 170 days. What am I missing here?
Yeah. So I anytime I request a projection, it goes directly to our revenue team, and that's kind of that's what they focus on specifically. Now, I can tell you, pre-COVID, it was a pretty good base if you made 8 to 10% return on investment, meaning if your property sold for X amount, you could expect to make 8 to 10% on that, and you were in a pretty safe zone with that.
Okay.
um Now, since COVID has happened, you know everything is increased in price and value, but with that was not um short-term rental. So we no longer go off the 8 to 10% return on investment based on what the property sold for or the value of the property or anything like that. And a projection is a projection based on historical data that, this particular unit, or whether it's a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, studio, 1 bedroom, whatever it is, historically it rented for 170 nights out of the year.
Okay.
Um,
That's what 170 is.
so yeah, yeah. So, that could vary. You'll never see a projection based on 365, because it doesn't happen.
Right,
Your property's not likely ever going to be booked every day of the year.
right.
So these projections are based on, you know, nightly stays, occupancy, things like that, what they've seen in the past, what, up to this point. And so they kind of base their projection off of, how many, nightly stays.
Got it. Okay. That's good to know. And then, how confident are you guys in your projections, um, with being accurate? Do you guys feel like, based off projections that you provide, and then once you onboard those people, are y'all pretty close? Like, what's the margin for error for that kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I've had this conversation before, not recently, but there were some numbers that showed statistically that our revenue was higher. Our
Okay.
revenue was always higher than what we projected. Now, that doesn't always happen. There's things that happen, and COVID for one, that was a horrible time for people. But um, owners also understand that when people can't travel, they can't travel. That's just part of it. But I think that um, any management company can give a prospective client any sort of projection, any
Right.
number,
Right.
just to onboard them, So and there are times that, I'm sure realtors have requested projections from me. Ours might be $10,000, $12,000 lower than another one, or maybe a lot lower. I don't know, but it, we provide true numbers to the best of our ability based on historical data. And the last thing that we want is to overpromise a brand new owner that's super excited about this property, that thinks they're going to make $80,000 a year on it,
Right.
and then they're struggling to make that mortgage payment
Right.
because this management company has promised them $80,000, and
Right.
we don't do that, because it comes back on the realtor for
It
referring
does.
us. It comes back on I don't want to have that conversation 6 months down the
No,
road with
no.
anybody. I don't want the manager or the ops team or anybody, and especially I don't want the owner to be put in a position where they were so excited about this property and now they can't even afford it, because not only are they not making what the management company said, but also their HOA dues increased. And
Right.
it can be a very detrimental thing for management companies to overpromise and
Yes.
underproduce. And so we just try to be as transparent as possible. If there's a similar property in that same complex that is on our program, and they want those numbers, we'll provide them. We'll black out the stuff that's private, of course, but we'll show
So
them
what the actuals are.
this is what this unit did that is just like yours. It's 2 floors higher, or it's the closest that we could get
Mhm.
to similar as yours. And we don't have a problem showing these numbers. And I think that's important for owners that are just sort of stepping into this, short-term rental,
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
industry. And I think that people just need to be very transparent with them. And sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
So,
I agree because, like I said, I specialize specifically in short-term rentals,
mhm.
and investment properties for anyone who's trying to make money off of these investments. Anyways, um, part of that and part of my selling points when I sell these properties are projections. And
Mm-hmm.
I've got projections from multiple other people. Specifically, you won me over because I had one for sale in a older complex that only had studios. And
Yep.
I had someone send me a projection for this studio that was built in the 50s, okay? That
Mm-hmm.
was like $28,000. And I just remember thinking, that's really high. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope that they can get 28,000. Like, I was excited
Right.
for them, you know, but I
Right.
just didn't
Yeah.
feel great about it. So I sent you an email and you sent it over to me, and your projection was like 14. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds way more accurate,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it's a studio, you know, so
Mm-hmm.
I felt better with that, and those are the projections that I actually listed on the MLS because I
Mm-hmm.
never want anybody to feel like I'm deceitful or
Right.
my clients, the sellers are deceitful. And
Yeah.
that specific unit had only been personal use. They had never had it on a rental program or anything. So
Right.
I didn't have actuals to show.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to have like you said, the most clear and transparent projections that I can give them while still saying,
Yeah.
hey, this unit's great. It's going to make you a ton of money.
Right.
Here's what they think it'll make, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's the best. Like honesty is key. And I feel like you get more business out of being honest and upfront with people because you're not screwing them over. Like
Right.
I don't want my name on that. You know, I don't want people to
Yeah.
think that's the kind of person I am. So to be able to work with a company that's like-minded is important to me. And that's why I always anytime anybody needs short-term rental stuff, I'm like, call my girl Stacey.
Yep. Yep.
Network.
Yep. Send them my way.
Okay, so the most important thing that people always ask, drum roll please, how
Mhm.
can people make more money on their short-term rentals per night in general? What would make
Yeah.
it appealing and how can they make more money?
Yeah. I just think, guests get to choose what property they want to go to. They know as soon as they walk in that that's what they booked. Old like years ago, you called an 800 number, you said four people are coming, and you just never knew what you got. And
Right.
it's so different now, and that people will always choose the property that just aesthetically is better. And you can't you can't increase rates so much that a guest is not going to choose that one over this other one that's got
Right.
carpet and wicker furniture inside. So I mean, it's get rid of the carpet. There's no reason to have carpet in a living room, when you're on the beach. I understand bedrooms. People like to have carpets in their bedrooms. I don't, but I know that people do, and that's fine. But um, update your furniture. It's an investment. So that couch is getting worn down. Your sofa's getting or your chair's getting worn down. The kitchen table and chairs need to be thrown out. Like just spend some money on this, but do some paint every 6 years, 5 years, whatever. There's a lot of people in and out of that property, and
Right.
unfortunately they treat it like it's not their property. So there's going to be little dings on the wall from the suitcase, or I mean, it happens,
Yep.
but you have to detach from the fact that it's not your home.
Yeah.
It's an investment property. And but you also need to, you need to stay. They always say keep up with the Joneses. Well, sometimes you do, because your property is not going to get picked if it's just not appealing,
Right.
and it costs a lot. It costs a lot to come here and stay for a
It
week,
does. It
especially
does.
during busy season. And there's some families that have to save and plan for an entire year just in order to come on vacation. And
For 1 week.
it's, yeah, just for 1 week. And I mean, they deserve they deserve to have a
Nice
nice
place.
updated place to, yeah. So I think that, and we've had owners on our program before that we have, I'll say broken up with, um, because some owners feel like if as long as they're making money, then that they
Right.
don't need to do anything. And it's quality really over quantity in, for Southern. We aren't trying to be the biggest, we're just trying to be the best. And
I like
I
that.
think, and owners are very open to, a lot of owners are very open to suggestions, and we understand that it's a huge investment, so we don't expect you to do, a full remodel, the first off season or the first slow season. Just do a room at a time, or paint paint the place, and then next year you replace your living room furniture, and then maybe you do the appliances. It's not anything that they have to do or that we expect them to do immediately. It's just do it over time. And you will see that the occupancy will increase because it's more appealing. Make sure that
Yeah,
your outdoor furniture on the balcony is not plastic and just falling apart. That's where most people want to sit when they're here.
exactly.
Spend some time out there too. So yeah, I think that just keep it simple. Also, this isn't your home. We Guests don't care that this knickknack came from Africa 4 years ago. They just
Right.
don't.
Right.
And so it's, if they like it enough, maybe they'll take it. And then there's a whole nother issue. And so just less is always better. Um, Keep it clean, keep it very simple. I know that you owners have an attachment to it sometimes, but it's not your home.
Right.
It's just an investment property. And when housekeeping goes into clean, that's their job. They don't have a whole lot of time to spend to pick up every single little knickknack on every end table and every countertop. I mean, or anything. They need to get in there and clean and get out. So I think always more or less is more, in my opinion.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's awesome. Um, and what about things like if a home does have a golf cart or something like that, does that add to the nightly rate?
So anytime there's an added feature like that, now there's when there's a home that has a pool, now it'll be an additional fee if they come, during cold season and they want the pool to be heated. So during their reservation, they'll be able to opt in or opt out of those types of
Okay.
things. Um, Golf cart, same thing. You can pay a little extra to have the golf cart. Some owners will throw in bicycles. Some owners will throw in, beach chair rental that they've made arrangements with a third party vendor out on the beach, and their property gets beach chairs from October to March or something, like whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, any little thing like that is, it's always a plus, and it doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't cost them a whole, it's less to do it that way than if they were just to go and like rent a golf cart for
For
the
sure.
entire week. Now I
Those
will
things are
say that,
expensive.
yeah, I know. Um, I will say that, most properties on the beach, most resorts on the beach won't allow a golf cart on property. So they need to kind of make sure that when they are booking and they're thinking about renting a golf cart, make sure that that specific property
Allows
will
it.
even allow a golf cart. Yeah, because then that's another waste of, that's very frustrating
Yeah.
for guests also. Now, if it's a standalone house, obviously that's not a concern. But yeah, if they want to stay on the beach and one of the condos, then they need to make sure that they can have a golf cart. So, but yeah,
Okay.
anytime the owners want to throw in things like that, it's always a benefit to the guest for sure.
Yeah, and like water features, like you said, for standalone homes. I know I had a listing that did not have a water feature, and the sellers were not exactly happy with the projections that came in, and neither were a lot of the buyers that were interested. But when I asked you about it, you were saying, what it do they have a pool? Like, is there a hot tub? Is there some type of
Right.
water feature because that would increase it? Is that like a big increase if it did have a water feature?
Yeah, it is a big increase. And, like you and I have talked about, you can have a beautiful home that's, a mile off the beach or whatever. And, but you got to think about, is the guest coming, do they want to stay a mile off the beach? Probably
Right,
not. Everybody comes to Panama City Beach to be on the beach,
right. And it's
and
hot.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And so, not only are they not even going to be able to probably walk to the beach, but they can't even get into the pool either because there isn't one. Um, so I think that everyone gets sort of shocked or irritated because they have this picture in their head of what they think revenue should be because they just spent $600,000
Right.
on a house a mile from the beach. But that's I mean, we might think that our house is worth that, and I'm sure I would too, but it's not about what we think; it's about what the guest thinks, and so they're going to choose a property on the beach over a property a mile from the beach. So those revenues will always be lower. I mean, it
Yeah,
just, especially if there's no pool, they just will be because it's not. It's about convenience
right.
too,
And I think that
and
that
that's
one, I think the one that I specifically was talking about, I think the projections were like 27,000. And I think you said that if there was a pool, it would be like closer to the 40,000 range. So
Mhm.
I was like, a
Yeah,
drastic difference in revenue.
yeah, yeah.
Which I knew that it would be
Mhm,
some, but I wasn't
mhm.
expecting how big of a difference that it was if they
Yeah,
had
yep.
a hot tub or something. I mean, not
Mhm,
necessarily a hot
mhm.
tub because it is hot here in the middle of summer, but you know what I mean,
Yeah,
some kind of
right.
water feature. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, and I think that that's the biggest thing. People buy these properties to make money on them. And in times
Mhm.
like this, when HOA fees are through the roof, and a lot of people can't afford to go on vacation right now, and like
Right.
all of it's adding up, people may have bought a home or bought a condo and the interest rate may be 8%. So they have a smaller chance of getting that big return because their
Mhm.
monthly payment's so high. So
Right,
it's
yeah.
important to talk about all of these ways that people can get more per night so that they can actually see the return of the investment that they're making.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and like I said,
Yeah,
I really like to be able to educate my clients and bring them value in every way that I can because not everyone's going to sell their house all the time. Like just because I call people and introduce myself doesn't mean that they're ready to sell their house, and that's
right.
okay. I just want to be able to help them until they're ready because I want to be their go-to girl, like you're my go-to girl.
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
and I want to
mhm.
share the
Yeah,
love. I want everyone to get the Stacey love. So, um,
yeah. So,
yeah. So, I did want to give you a chance to kind of talk about any special things that Southern Vacation Rentals offers, and if people where they can find you and all that kind of good stuff. If they liked what they heard today and then wanted to talk to you and connect, how could they reach out to you?
yeah, so we do a lot of now we do have some owners that prefer not to have snowbirds. We have some owners that say something's better than nothing, get somebody in there. And so what we listen to our owners and we will do whatever they want us to do when it comes time to market snowbirds. And what we do is we will send out email blasts to anybody that's ever stayed at any of our properties. We also, obviously know who the snowbirds are that are repeat guests, and we market pretty heavily to just to get some occupancy.
Okay.
Now, I mean, we also, during slow season, or a time when there's special rates that can be offered. So there'll be like a little code that comes up when you go to the website, and it's, however many nights and then a percentage off or whatever. I mean, so we're
Okay.
constantly doing things and sending emails just to get in front of people, guests, past guests. And, we have a huge social media presence.
Okay.
And our website is very user friendly. I know that's important to people,
For
and
sure.
just not get lost in, a complicated website that looks good but doesn't make any, you
Yeah.
can't figure out how to book a night. So I think that what Southern offers that's special is just, I mean, communication. I'm big on communication. I know that oftentimes if you don't hear from us, or if you don't hear from, your manager, that's always a good thing, because
No news is good news.
right. But I think that when something does happen, the team is pretty good at communicating with the owner, get it figured out, and, moving forward from it. Whether it's a lamp was missing after a guest checked out, and, housekeeping didn't notice it, something like that. We come to an agreement, we handle it, and we move forward. I mean, because ultimately that's not the owner's fault. So we're
Right.
not going to hold the owner responsible for something like that. And, I've talked to owners that are on the program that they appreciate that.
Yeah.
We are their eyes and ears for this massive expense, this property and so I take that very serious, and, I know that the operations team does too.
Yeah. I like that because a lot of the time, the people that I work with, they have many properties and this is their retirement plan. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
might as well call me 401k girl because I am going to make sure that your investments are good.
Right. I
And
know.
I want,
No.
I, I want to be able to help people secure those investments, but just buying the properties is half the battle. Being able to actually find someone to take care of them and to
Mhm.
help them actually bring in the money, it's a whole different thing. So um I like
Yeah.
I like that you guys take that as seriously as I do and as my clients do because people don't get into the short-term rental game for fun.
Right. I know.
Because it is
I
stressful.
mean,
It is
yeah. And
stressful.
people also go into it just really to break even, to have it pay for itself. I mean, I don't really think anybody goes into it thinking that they're going to get rich, they're going to get rich off of it, but it does pay for itself, and the end game is, very profitable, because if it's a short-term rental for X amount of years, and then it's,
It's paid off.
somebody else is paying your mortgage.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So it's a very serious business. Takes, time, I think, to see any sort of positive
Yeah.
return on it, specifically because, just the way the economy is now, and just how expensive everything is. And, but we have some pretty lucky owners too that, have done very well and have been able to buy more. And I think that's great. And you know, if an owner were to call me and say, "Hey, I think I'm going to pull it off the program because I'm retiring and I'm gonna live in it full time," I think that's the best thing. I'm
Heck yeah.
always super
That's the
happy for people
dream for
like that.
people.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. I mean, I hear people all the time say, I have that property, but I haven't been there in years. It's on
Yeah.
the program, but I haven't laid eyes on it. I know it's
Mhm.
there. I know people are staying
Mhm.
in it, but
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you should really come down and enjoy it. He's like, no, I'm working. I'm working and
Right.
I'm going to retire there in 5 years or I'll be there in
Yeah.
2 years. And I like
Yeah.
that, because
I
it
do
is
too.
there. It is there for
Mhm.
them. And like you said, it's not a get rich quick thing, obviously, but I'm a strong believer in the Burr method. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's buy, renovate, rent, repeat. So, or refinance, repeat, refinance, whichever. So,
Mhm.
you buy one condo, put a little money into it, rent it out, and then once you've paid down a certain amount, you refinance and take that cash and buy another. And you continue to
Yep.
build your investment portfolio this way. And I mean, I believe in that.
Mhm.
And right now with interest rates the
Mhm.
way they are, it's hard, but we don't know if this is the new normal or not. So,
I know. I
um,
know.
but then there's also the
Yeah.
people that, like you said, are ready to get out or something like that, and they may have bought their property in 2016 for 200,000, and it may be five now, maybe five hundred thousand
Right.
dollars. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so many different people in different circumstances, and that's kind of what I love about this is that I get to talk to people and
Yeah.
help navigate the kind of where they're at, where they wanna be, and we kinda get to figure out how to get them there, so I
Right.
love
Yeah.
it. I really
I
do,
know.
and I love
I
meeting all
know.
the people, like
I know. Me
like
too.
you and all the
Mhm.
different, like, vendors and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and I love being able to build this little community for people that wanna work with me because
Mhm.
they trust me and I trust you, you know, and
Right. Yeah.
I trust my title person and things like
Mhm.
that, and I hope to have her on here soon, and we're gonna go over 1031 exchanges and things like that, so my
Oh,
clients
that
can
would be interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, maybe you can hop on that one
Yeah,
too,
for sure.
um,
Mhm.
because I wanna just spread all the wealth, all the knowledge, um, and help everybody get
Mhm.
where they need to be, but Stacey,
Yeah.
you were giving us a freebie for today, your freebie was for the furnishing requirements that you guys offer for, um your people that are coming on board your onboarding
Mhm.
process. So I'm going to
Mhm.
share this with the people that have come on to our video today and see if that's helpful for them because I know a lot of people they're like I don't know where to begin and they buy way too much or don't have enough.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
a good start, a good guide to go off of.
Right.
That with
And
them.
I'll say again, this is not your home. So it doesn't have to be the best of the best silverware, the best of the best plates. I mean, typically when people are buying a property, it's already been, the
Right.
previous owners, 9 times out of 10 have already had it on a program. So it's pretty well stocked. But um, you know, just buy things in the kitchen specifically that you would want when you go on
Right.
vacation. That's kind of my rule of thumb. We have a list, kind of a checklist. It's not all required, it's just kind of a guide to what our guests expect when they are, on vacation. And, some owners may add a margarita blender, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. It's not necessary. Some guests, or some owners may have, a standard coffee pot and a Keurig. That's great too. Not necessary. So just you don't have to spend a lot of money on things like that because silverware, for whatever reason, disappears
Every time.
over time. Plates get broken. So, and those are all things that the owner will have to replace. And they know that coming onto the program, they have to kind of replenish that kind of stuff. But um, it happens.
Yeah.
So it's okay not to furnish it the way that you would furnish your own home. We don't expect you to, and we don't want you to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love this
but
list
yeah,
though.
it's
I do. It's super helpful
yeah,
because a lot of people don't know where to start, but um
yeah,
yeah, I love it and they will love it.
yeah,
I know lots of clients of mine are going to enjoy that, but I really
yeah.
appreciate
Good.
you coming and talking with me today
You're
and sharing
welcome.
all
Thank
of your
you so
knowledge with everyone.
much.
How
You're
can people find
welcome.
you? What's your phone number, your email address, or your social media? How do people find you?
317-847-1074. And you can, I mean, that's probably the best way to call or
Okay.
text me. Call
All
or
right.
text me. Yeah, I've got my phone all the time. I'm working constantly.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll put my information over here and Stacey's information over here. You guys
Okay.
call us if you guys have any questions. Thank you, Stacey, so much for being here. I really,
Thank you
really
for
appreciate
inviting
it.
me.
All
I'm
right. I'll see
excited.
you soon.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.